A frozen lake on a brutally cold morning. Appropriate for a world record attempt in Minnesota.
It was 22 below this morning at 5 to 5 when I woke up.
Chuck Zwilling and his family are plotting to cut a huge disc of ice known as an ice carousel. This is the one to beat. A massive 100-meter spinning disc cut by Finnish inventor Jani Kapalato.
An ice carousel is, if you can imagine, taking a chainsaw and cutting a perfect circle, then you cut another circle about 6 inches further out. You remove the ice in between, and then you stick a trolling motor or whatever you want to the power source, and it makes it spin.
Today's challengers are the Zwillings, a dozen adult siblings from Minnesota.
I'm Facebook friends with Yanni, and when we decided to set the world record, we said we're coming for you.
Are we gonna set a world record today?
Yeah!
Is it cold out?
Yeah!
All right, 1, 2, 3, sunny.
Dad had Sonny's Logging, which is a logging business.
Growing up, we all helped Dad at the sawmill until we all started to branch off on our own.
I still run a chainsaw today.
This isn't their first carousel.
Last year we did quite a bit smaller version of it.
This year's carousel is going to be 110 meters, give or take a meter. The circumference is 7 times bigger than what we did last year.
With 2 cuts needed to create the gap, that adds up to over 700 meters of sawing through ice.
So this year, we started working on an ice cutting sled.
In steps Ken, the mechanical one, to design it.
Nothing fancy with our first sled. Just something to hold the chainsaw and push it through the ice. And we learned real quick to keep the tips of our saws out of the water. Water saws harder than ice does.
Then they enlisted a local contractor to build this double-bladed cutting sled to tackle both cuts simultaneously. They tested it, and it worked like a charm. With a shivering crowd watching, the fun begins. The cart is tethered to a cable pegged at the center of the circle. They have to follow it tightly for success.
If we're off more than 3 inches, we might be in problems. Once we started using the saw and we had it hooked up to the cable to keep our circle, we found that the blades would move on their own, bend, twist.
They'd barely taken a bite out of it when the chains just stopped.
Cold weather today is not helping at all. Things are freezing up faster. We might be using the chainsaws after all.
There's more than family pride pushing them. This attempt's also being used to raise money for local kids.
The charity that we are supporting today is Flyer Pride Pack, and that is a weekend food backpack program for kids that basically live below the poverty line, so they've got a little food over the weekend.
So they improvise, pulling out an early prototype with a single blade.
All right, we got it. Back down. Somebody hang on in front. Drag it ahead out of the water.
This Frankensled makes easy work of a shallow cut. But to finish the job, it's back to good old-fashioned logging skills and determination.
But one thing about the Zwillings is that when they set their mind to something, whatever they start it, they'll finish it.
At nightfall, the crowd disappears, but the family remains.
Got some big construction lights that they use like on highway projects at night.
The temperature dives and the winds are whipping up. The circle is no longer perfect or pretty.
Got some ice augers and they're drilling right next to each other. The chainsaws are coming in between, cutting the ice out. They're making good progress.
A quick measurement tells them they've hit world record size.
So well over 110 meters in diameter.
Our next challenge will be getting it to spin.
The disc weighs over 3,100 metric tons. It'll need some coaxing to move.
And we were trying to pull it with some four-wheelers. It moved a little bit.
That's it. It's over now.
We are going to get that thing to spin because not only are we Zwillings, we are Americans, not Americans.
In the morning, they're back at it, hoping the low temperatures didn't freeze the gap overnight.
We'll fight till the end.
We are officially moving.
As it starts to spin, it's a testament to this family's stick-to-itiveness and the start of a yearly tradition.
We'll definitely work on our saws a little more, being we know what didn't work.
And knowing my brother Kenny, he will have it all down pat next year. There won't be any trying it the day of.
Well, by now you've probably heard of those ice carousels popping up on Minnesota lakes.
But the one you're about to see is unlike any other, as is the story of how it got here. Tonight, Boyd Hupert spins the tale of a trend turned world record.
It's just the perfect day out.
Minnesotans are used to making circles in the ice.
Something nibbling on it.
Symmetry that gets us through the winter.
You can get cabin fever very, very quick.
But lately, our winter circles have been getting an upgrade.
Fingers crossed.
Chuck Zwilling first saw an ice carousel 2 winters ago on YouTube. A Finlander named Jana had cut the circle in the ice, viewed online by hundreds of thousands of people who smiled and went back to their lives. While Chuck saw things bigger.
We got about 8 feet done, only 1,342 more feet to go.
That would be roughly a quarter-mile around the world's largest ice carousel.
We're creating the gap that will let it spin.
And this is not Chuck's first attempt.
Keep it good and tight, Gary.
That's Chuck last winter, as one jury-rigged cutting machine broke down.
The blade is hitting.
Then, another. Chuck's 2018 attempt defined by a lame quarter spin and near tragedy when a skid steer went through the ice.
That kind of killed the whole buzz. I want another crack at it, yeah, and I want it to spin.
And what do you know?
One step across.
This time,
Welcome.
it did.
It's a strange feeling, even though it's moving slowly. It's just odd.
Our carousel is powered by 4 trolling motors.
It's weird because I feel like that side is moving when we're really moving, and we were over there at one point, and now we're over here.
And look who's here.
I'm Janne Käpylehto, the chairman of the World Ice Carousel Association.
Remember that trend-setting YouTube video from Finland?
After that, I've done about 50.
Jana is the man who brought an old Finnish tradition back.
100 years ago in Finland, there has been ice carousels, but it was basically forgotten.
Now he's created an organization.
It's always exciting and fun.
To certify ice carousel world records.
I'm gonna measure the size of the circle to make sure we're the largest in the world.
Chuck's chances seem good, with a carousel large enough to host within it a hockey rink, a curling sheet, and a speed skating track. Plus,
It feels weird.
several smaller carousels within the larger one.
Whoa, in the water.
And this guy.
I'm Roger Morneau, and I'm here because I'm the current world record holder for the world's largest ice carousel.
Roger's team built this carousel last winter near his home in Maine, nearly a football field and a half across.
I cut 20 feet out of his tape measure, so I hope he doesn't notice it. 74 feet. 500 right there.
Final measurement?
That's close enough.
Yeah. 508 feet.
Congratulations! Where's that trophy? This is the trophy. It's gonna surely bring a gigantic smile to his face and an even larger frown to mine to have to turn it over. Now it's gonna be in Little Falls, Minnesota for how long? We don't really know. Even the little chainsaw even turns on it. Ow, geez, it does work.
The sting.
It's official.
Thanks, Roger.
Congrats.
Thanks for bringing with and letting it go. We're glad we're not sending it back. We're glad we're not sending it back home with you.
Despite last year's disappointment, Chuck's ice carousel finally came full circle.
Add a little excitement in the middle of the winter.
On Minnesota lakes this time of year.
Being outdoors and
it's just not hip.
It's fantastic.
To be square.
That's impressive. That's really cool.
Boyd Hupert, KARE 11 News.
You're on the World Record Ice Carousel.
Little Falls.
In addition to the spectacle, the Zwilling family raised $15,000 with their ice carousel and donated it to a local charity. Chuck says he's already planning something even bigger for next winter.
measure to make sure that Chuck didn't screw up cutting the cable and that we're a world record size. Simple as that.
This is the exact center, right?
This is exact. That's the cable. That's where we hooked the cable when we made the whole circle.
All right.
Five feet 8 inches. Yeah. Add 2, it's 375.10 because there's a loop on the end.
from a big family. I got 12 brothers and sisters, and we were born sawmill guys and loggers. Our dad owned a sawmill and was a logger. I had seen this video from Finland, Jani Kapaleito. He had done an ice carousel, so we did a little 54-foot circle and made it spin and thought it was like the coolest thing ever. We decided to turn it into a yearly event, and now, of course, we're like 1,000 feet over that.
This year we'll have the surveyors come out and mark a circle, take a plow the snow off.
They're going to tell us where to cut. We just got to color in the lines, that's it.
I'll probably cut first, Bo will cut behind me with the other rig, staggered off of it. And we have people behind that push the chunks under the ice. Then we'll have other guys setting up the motors, and they'll start putting power to it and try to spin it. And then as we watch, if it looks like it's going to bind up somewhere, it's trying to get those spots off so it doesn't bind up and keep it spinning.
Each year we've evolved. You know, we've added new things, we've added new people, but we've added new ways of cutting. You know, it just makes it a little bit easier so that we can continue to do this every year and raise all of the funds for the kids.
Usually ours spin within 15-20 minutes. They'll start going if we have enough power to them. Sometimes we got to hook like four-wheelers up and give it a little bump to get it going, but so it'll just all of a sudden everybody will watch it and all of a sudden it'll just real slowly start creeping. So
it's a battle of the elements too. It's not just the ice, it's the weather, it's everything.
It should equal about 80,000 tons. The ships in Duluth, the big 1,000-footers, I think they'll carry right around 80,000 tons like in them for their cargo.
So we had human bowling, we had 2 sheets of curling. Grand Rapids, or Itasca Curling Club, has come and done that the last few years, which has been awesome. Then we have a hockey rink and an open skating rink. And then we had human foosball, and we had kite flying, we had igloo building, we have spear fishing, the underwater drone, the ROV, which is remote operated vehicle. The Crow Wing County Dive and Rescue Team brings one of those, and basically, you know, they have a screen up, they let kids play with it. It's a really big hit. Flyer Pride Pack is a weekend backpack food program. Morrison County is a pretty poor county, so a lot of kids run the risk of not eating over the weekend. You know, their parents are in a difficult situation. It's a little pack of food that the teachers put together or the social workers put together. They stick it in the kids' backpack when they're out to recess. Then we added Care Closet, which is the junior high and high school version of kind of the same thing, kids that don't have their basic needs met at home. I mean, the carousel and the activity is fun. That's been great, but it's all about raising money for kids that, you know, less fortunate, and it's a great cause. Huge thank you to all the volunteers, people that stepped up. It obviously can't happen without many hands, and then of course all the donations and sponsors. And I think it's just catching traction, and the community is understanding that it's a real thing. It gives money back. It's growing, I think, exponentially.
Ice Fest in the middle up on top. World record ice carousel on the left is Maine, the record we just beat. And then on the right is Finland, which has the 3rd largest in
I think it's a lot of fun. When it's cold out, that kind of stuff, a lot of people just kind of hunker down and try to stay warm.
Everybody makes this possible. It is not 1 or 2 people, it is truly an entire community.
It's something really cool to like come out to come see. When's the last time you went to an ice carousel?